Starfox is fun. The series itself has had many ups and downs throughout the years, but when it's up, it's way, way up. And today, we're going to be talking about one of its way, way up moments. In fact, I might even dare to say that this game is probably Starfox's way, way uppest moment in the series. So strap in, because we're going to be talking about this game a lot today. Like, a lot. I mean, you probably already knew that, right? Like, you clicked on this video knowing what the runtime was, so if anything, it's kind of your fault that you're stuck here watching a long video, isn't it? Regardless, thanks for checking this video out. I hope you enjoy it. Coming out just 4 years after the series' debut title Starfox, Starfox 64 had a lot of refining to do. Classic Starfox was a pretty cool game and had plenty of people enjoying themselves back in the day, but even for its time, people probably knew that the SNES wasn't the console that was gonna push through that barrier into gaming in the third dimension. The game simply did not run very well. In fact, it ran so poorly that Star Fox 2, also planned to release for the SNES system, was scrapped by Nintendo in favor of developing a brand new Star Fox game on their soon-to-release console, the N64. And let me tell you, this was a fantastic idea. Star Fox 64 is, for many reasons, among my favorite N64 titles of all time, and hopefully with this video, I'm able to get across exactly why that is. Let's just kick this off with a fresh boot of the game, and you'll get a pretty good idea of what I'm talking about. Right off the bat, we have this text making a really big deal out of the fact that Starfox is officially coming at you on the N64. It's clear that for this release, the team working on the game really cared about the product they put out, and this opening really makes it seem like they wanted people to understand how big of a deal this actually was. Finally, Starfox fans would be able to play a game that didn't run like this 90% of the time, and had a way cooler list of features. Straight after this introduction though, we actually have a cutscene that plays, setting the stage for exactly what we're getting ourselves into. Rob introduces an urgent message from General Pepper, the general of Corneria's armed forces, and in the message, he tells us that Andross has declared war on the entire Lylat system. He calls for our help in defending Corneria itself, and straight away, Fox and his gang are sprinting into action. Deep inside the Great Fox, we can see everyone getting set up in their R-Wings and taking off into space to help aid the good guys in a war against evil. This cutscene is pretty short, but in following straight after that now on N64 announcement, it really seems like the devs were trying to show people just how far we'd come in home console gaming at the time. Coming out 4 years after its initial debut game, this must have seemed like straight up magic in comparison. And here is where we reach the title screen. Grandiose music introduces the hero team of the game as they all stand there and look at you as if to say, are you ready for this shit? Just for some added nonsense, if you were to move the analog stick at all before pressing that very tempting start button at the bottom, you'd be surprised with the ability to move the 64 logo around the screen. It was always so funny to me as a kid that they all kept their eyes locked on this thing while you moved it around as if they were scared you were trying to steal it from them or something. This is just a cute feature, and honestly, it's kind of reminiscent of Super Mario 64's press start screen before its main menu. Perhaps there's a video in itself waiting to be made of interactive title screens like this from this time period, but that's not what we're on about today. I just think it's cool that Nintendo did this kind of thing back then to start entertaining the fans of their games from the very moment they turned on their console. Getting into single player mode, we've got a lot of exposition, but let me sum it up for you real quick here so we don't have to listen to this beautiful, deep voice explaining it slowly.
Corneria, fourth planet of the Lylat system.
God, he is beautiful. Basically, Big Bad Andross had laid ruin to the Lylat system once in the past in some unexplained way, and was banished by General Pepper to planet Venom, which was barren and largely uninhabited. 5 years after his banishment, the General noticed some unusual activity stemming from this supposedly dead planet, and sent out the Starfox team to go investigate. At this time, Starfox consisted of Fox's dad, James McCloud.
Father?
Okay, Fox, calm down. Pigma Dengar.
Shoot me!
And Peppy Hare.
Do a barrel roll!
Yeah. He's that guy. Once they arrived on Venom though, Pigma sided with Andross, betraying the Starfox team and helping capture its other two members. Somehow, Peppy did manage to escape from Venom and would return to Corneria to tell Fox what had happened to his father. Of course, the events of that day led to Fox starting up his own Starfox team, now holding such members as Slippy the tech nerd,
Slippy here,
Falco the ace pilot,
Falco here,
and Peppy, his father's
Do a barrel roll!
I know. Jeez. This team of 4 would soon be called by General Pepper, as we saw in the intro of this game, to help Corneria's forces keep peace within the Lylat system rather than succumbing to Andross's wrath. And with this story explanation over, we're introduced to the Lylat system firsthand, where our entire journey is going to be taking place. Beginning in Corneria, our goal is to forge a path all the way through Venom with the goal of taking out Andross and returning peace to the galaxy. The story in Starfox 64 doesn't really go any further than this. It's honestly 90% backstory, with the main plot of this game being kill bad guy and war. The individual individual missions are pretty self-contained story-wise and exist solely for the sake of reaching our ultimate goal in Planet Venom. While all of this exposition has been very interesting and everything, this is where the fun actually begins. So let's take you through how your first run of this game is probably gonna look.
It's about time you showed up, Fox. You're the only hope for our world.
I'll do my best. Andros won't have his way with me.
Good luck.
Now, I'm not gonna go as into detail with every level in this game as I'm about to with Corneria, but honestly, I think Corneria deserves this kind of light shone on it, as it literally introduces you to the world of Starfox 64 that you're gonna be playing for the next maybe 60 minutes or so. Right away, we find our team flying over the ocean towards Corneria City. Before zipping into action, Fox asks everyone to make sure that their G-diffuser systems are all primed and ready to go. One by one, they all make it known that their systems are functioning perfectly, and finally, we're thrust into the gameplay. On the ocean here, it's pretty easy to get a hang of the basic controls we'll be using in this game. Flying around and aiming both move one for one with each other using the analog stick. We can fire our laser with the A button and fire out a smart bomb with the B button. There are some enemies here and there that you can test your might against, and if you can defeat this entire group of enemies all in one spot, you'll be rewarded a laser upgrade. Now instead of one green laser, we'll be firing two. Right before we reach the mainland, we're also introduced to the idea of helping our teammates out during missions. This game can largely be played on your own, paying little mind to your colleagues, but there are plenty of times that these guys can really come in handy, and I'd recommend defending any of them that find themselves getting chased. Finally, we've reached Corneria City.
This is horrible.
Immediately, the vibe switches up from the calm water we were flying over earlier. Structures are burning, there are flying enemies in every direction, there are huge robots pushing down entire buildings. It's honestly a mess. As we move our way through this first level, Peppy will occasionally chime in with little bits of advice in times that we might need it. He tells us to use the brakes when there are enemies chasing behind us, he tells us to use our boost in case we need to chase enemies ourselves, and of course, he tells us to... Peppy? Peppy, say the thing.
Do a barrel roll.
Perfect. About halfway through this stage, if we don't act quickly enough when Falco starts to get chased, he'll actually be taken out right in front of us, being forced to retreat back to the Great Fox. This game does not hesitate to show you what it's all about in situations like these, so you'd better get your aim steady and get ready to keep your team alive as much as you can. Once they're taken out of battle, they'll leave your current mission and skip the next mission before they're deployed to fly out with you again in the level after your next one. Here is where we start to approach the end of the level. I love that this game's whole gameplay loop centers around the fact that we're still just playing a silly on-rails shooter, as would be expected coming from the original game, only to immediately shake things up for us at the end of our first area. Reaching the boss enemy in Corneria, Fox instructs the team to activate all range mode, spreading out their wings and allowing us to fly freely within the boss arena. So quickly, this game goes from a fun, shoot as many things as you can while you fly by game, to holy shit, I gotta figure out how to fly around and beat this dude game. Speaking of this boss though, he's actually nothing special. As you're flying straight towards him at the start of the encounter, firing a couple shots will most likely reveal to you the fact that his legs are damageable, making it a pretty easy target for the player to cycle back around for. Once you've shot out both of his legs and you've got him on the ground, all it takes to finish the fight is to fire as many lasers as you can into the big tank on his back. After defeating this follower of Andros, the team flies into the sky, moving on to their next destination. On their way out, everyone gets a little time to report on their status. This is a spot where your characters will have unique voice lines depending on what their health levels are looking like at the end of the stage, or if someone went down in your last mission, Falco. Rob will give updates on how the repairs are going. I always loved that the end of every mission was filled with a little extra flavor like this, rather than just booting us back to the map in order to carry out our next mission right away. We've got a small opportunity here before keeping the train moving to just chill out and listen to some beautiful victory music. Corneria City is a fantastic level 1 for this game. It can't be overstated how well a level full of teachable moments goes over with players rather than a game that plops you down into a mandatory tutorial right away. Plus, this level is chock full of character development from beginning to end. I know I gave you a small introduction to every character before, but just look at how it all plays out inside this first level. Peppy used to work with Fox's father, making him much older, wiser, and more experienced than the rest of the team, and that's reflected in the way he tells you when to use your brakes, your boosters, and your other defensive maneuvers. Sorry, I guess somehow in trying not to mention the barrel roll thing again, I actually managed to spit a pretty sweet bar there. Slippy is the tech and the brains behind our operation. Not only does he have the lore behind him that he helped create and design the current versions of our vehicles, but he's also directly responsible for giving us boss health bars in this game. If Slippy is ever missing from a mission, like Falco will be from our next one, you actually have no health bars to work with because he isn't there to say,
"Enemy
enemy shield analyzed.
and subsequently give us a little health bar on our HUD to work with. Above the others though, I think Falco gets the coolest bit of character development in this mission in the way that he's simply just a cocky ace pilot with the skills to back up his attitude. You may think that's funny considering he desperately required help in the first mission, but that only took place because of a moment that helps develop his character deeply. At the start of the Corneria mission, Fox specifically calls out to the team to check on everyone's G diffuser systems as they fly over the ocean approaching Corneria City. They're a safe distance away from the action, and it's the perfect time now to just give a glance over whatever you might need to in order to ensure that they're going in prepared. Falco's response to this callout is,
Falco here. I'm fine.
which isn't all that convincing. He's cocky, he's hot-headed, he probably doesn't like being treated like someone working underneath Fox all the time, so he gives a quick dismissive response without really checking on anything, assuming that it'll all be fine because he's their most capable pilot. Well, once he starts getting chased down, he can't fly himself out of the situation and ends up calling for our help in a small panic. Only then does he realize,
Something's wrong with the G diffuser.
pointing to the fact that my observations from earlier were completely true. In a moment of ignorance, Falco is humbled, and if you do manage to save him in this instance, he even responds in a way that could be seen as a more dismissive behavior, but I think it's kind of nice of him.
I guess I should be thankful.
Showing thanks to Fox for saving his feathers is a nice way to see Falco breaking out of his shell and becoming closer over time to his teammates.
Pretty smooth flying, Fox.
That was a decently long section about character development, but you should know that this type of thing happens in every single mission in this game. Just like I said earlier though, I'm not going to be focusing on every individual planet as much as I did this first one. I just wanted to give you an idea of what it's like to play this game and how densely packed these levels are with all sorts of world building moments. I am just in love with this game, but it really is time we should be moving on to mission 2. Yeah, so I recorded that whole first bit of this video while I had a pretty terrible cold. For the rest of the video onwards, my voice should be sounding a lot better. Let's keep it moving. In mission 2, we find ourselves flying through an asteroid belt. We've got a bunch of ambushes to worry about, some areas that are pretty packed with enemies, and of course, another boss at the end of this level. My favorite part of this level happens during the boss fight if you keep Falco alive in mission 1. Halfway through the fight, the boss starts turning his ship around, and honestly, I think you just need to watch it.
I'm no match for you. I admit defeat. Are you gonna listen to that monkey? You're not as stupid as you look!
I think it's just the voice acting that really gets me here, but honestly, it's just such a cool moment. Falco calling his bluff and the boss shouting back as he fires his final gambit weapon at you? Yeah. This shit's pretty cool. Mission 3 happens on Fortuna, and we're instructed to protect this Federation base from the attack being forced against it. For most of this mission, we're just shooting little ships and blowing up these satellite machines for silver rings in case we need more health. After a while of fighting here though, Rob tells us that there's been a bomb armed inside the facility, and before we can get in there to try to disarm it, we find trouble. The 4 guys that show up here form the Starwolf team, a quite creatively named team, I must say. This group consists of Wolf O'Donnell, Leon Pawalski, Andrew Oinkeny, nephew to Andros, and of course, Pigma Dengar, the pilot responsible for the death of Fox's father. And honestly, you're gonna hear him taunting you about that a lot every time you see him in this game.
Too bad Dad's not here to see you fail.
This fight is actually super easy though, and as soon as we beat them, we can disarm the bomb and move on to our next mission. Mission 4 takes place in Sector X, where we're instructed to find a secret base Andros has apparently been building a secret weapon at. There's nothing super noteworthy as we fly through this level, aside from our first introduction to a split path. We can choose to go left or right on our way through this level, and honestly, I'd say the right path is probably going to be an easier time. As we fly through this base that's seemingly already been destroyed before we could get to it, we start seeing these robotic arms flying past us, and by the end of the level, we can see what type of secret weapon Andros has been developing here. This boss is a big robot. Nothing too crazy, but his attacks are really threatening. Slippy actually happens to find this out firsthand, as once you reach the second phase of the fight, he'll run in for an attack and get absolutely bitch slapped toward the nearby planet. In a bit of a stressful situation, we finish off the robot, and obviously there's no other choice than our 5th mission taking place on this planet to recover Slippy from his crash landing. We take the Great Fox as quickly as possible over to Titania, where where Slippy crashed, and the decision is made to deploy the Landmaster here. This is basically the R-Wing of ground combat, and it was so badass seeing this thing for the first time for me as a kid. For any mission that uses the Landmaster, we'll be spending an equal amount of time looking up at the sky, as well as straight ahead of us on the ground. We do have a grounded roll, which is fun to use, as well as the bottom rockets we can control with the R and Z buttons in order to hover for a small amount of time above the ground, or just turn more quickly. I love these Landmaster missions, but enough about that, we've got a friend to save. At the end of this mission, we finally find Slippy's R-Wing caught in some tree or something, and thankfully, he's still responding. Once we start to shoot him out though, we find that these were not any random structures that Slippy got caught in. It turns out he was actually caught by the hands of some ridiculous alien creature. This fight is really simple, but it's also a lot of fun. Once you've destroyed a few of its arms, you can take out the arm holding onto Slippy in order to free him, and then it's just a matter of trying to land clean shots on the center of it to finish it off. These last two missions, Sector X and Titania, are so cool in terms of the narrative that plays out between them. Slippy getting owned only to end up causing a necessary detour, bringing us to one more location than we were planning on hitting on our way to Andros. It's really cool, and it's way more involved than I would have expected a story for an on-rail shooter game to be. Before finally reaching Venom to face Andros, we decide to take out his super satellite, the Bolt's Defense Outpost. This mission is super simple in scope. Basically, all we have to do is take out all of these electric contacts connected to the shield in the center of it, and once that's done, we can start shooting out all of the vulnerable spots on the core of the machine. All of this happens with a ton of these other little ships flying around and attacking us, but it's not really a big deal. Just circle around and keep firing at the vulnerable spots on the core, and you'll have completed this mission in no time. Our final planet, Venom, is a very cool mission. First of all, we have a lot of land to fly over in our approach towards Andros, and this comes with all sorts of split paths. Any path you decide to choose will have you flying with one of your teammates while the other two check the path you decided not to follow. If you took the path that follows Peppy the first time, you can also just switch it up next time and follow Falco or Slippy through the next one. I just like this part a lot, and I thought I should highlight it. It's not really that important or consequential, but it is cool. After all of this exploration though, we run into this huge temple which for some reason the team decides to fly through rather than flying over or around it. Seems a little close quarters for me, but what do I know? Inside of this temple we find a robotic rock golem boss who's trying to stop our progress by pulling huge pillars out of the floor, walls, and ceiling of this tiny hallway that we're in. After shooting out his rock armor, we start to destroy the robot underneath and we leave the temple that we were flying through. Here, we find the entrance to Andros's base. Flying through the entrance tunnel, we have a straight shot to Andros. Once we reach him, we've got a sick boss fight with him. The first objective here is to take out his hands. He'll swing at you a bunch with them, and in getting them out of the way, we have a lot less to worry about. His other primary attack doesn't require these hands, and it's this inhale move. Here, all we have to do is use smart bombs that hopefully you've been holding on to up to this point in order to stop the damage and keep ourselves from being inhaled. If you do happen to get inhaled, you'll instantly lose both your wings, making it much harder to maneuver around during this fight. Once we get rid of these hands, we just need to shoot at his eyes for a while until his facade is finally destroyed, and we can see that he was truly just a robot this entire time. Again, we just need to keep focused fire on his eyes here, and it's really not that hard to take him out. And finally, we've restored peace to the Lilat system. During the credit sequence, we see all of our team members flying back to Corneria with the Great Fox in order to deliver the good news. In meeting up with General Pepper, we actually get offered the chance to join the Cornerian Armed Forces, which isn't something Fox and the guys are ready to do.
Starfox, we are in your debt. I would be honored to have you as part of the Cornerian
Oh no, sir. We prefer doing things our own way.
Great Fox is ready to go.
It's time for us to go now.
I love this plot point for Fox and his team because for me, it's really just reminiscent of Samus and her situation with her Space Federation, staying a separate entity from the generalized force so that when you decide to help, it can be on your own terms in the way that you think you can do the most to affect the situation. Overall, a very cool story, but it's actually not quite over yet. See, in watching everyone fly away in the wake of their success, we actually see one final thing that lets us know that there's more to come. In the clouds, Andros's face appears in the sky and his laughs fill our ears. You may have thought you got rid of him during your mission, but there's much more to this than you may have realized up to this point. Remember the world map we talked about? Well, this is what our path through it looked like just now. Corneria, Asteroid Belt, Fortuna, Sector X, Titania, Bolt's Defense Outpost, and Venom. But what's up with the rest of these planets then? Well, the only thing that you need in order to reach those planets is to increase your skill in the game. There are plenty of ways to reach different planets in this game, some easy and some more difficult, but the baseline is this. The easy easy planets are on the right side, or I guess the bottom, since this is the default way the map is shown to us. The medium planets are set in the middle of the rest, and the hardest planets are on the top or left side of this middle line. In order to take a left path rather than a right path, you need to either perform well enough in the level you're in, or complete a secret objective to reach a secret exit. You'll know you executed one of these options correctly at the end of the mission, where your mission complete text will actually read mission accomplished. I can't tell you how exciting it was for me as a kid when this text appeared on screen, because it was a lot harder for me to achieve back then. But it really showed in those moments how effective this method of revealing the grade of your performance can be. Working towards accomplishing a mission and then watching the words appear on screen after you completed it was euphoric for me back in the day, and I think it holds up nicely even today. Let's stop being vague though. What types of secrets or high performances are we talking about here? Well, let's go over a few of the levels that we've already looked at. In the first mission, Corneria, we already have a secret exit we can find. If we help rescue Falco in this moment when he's in trouble, and then fly through every one of these little rock arches in this lake, Falco will be impressed with our show of skill in flying.
Pretty smooth flying, Fox.
And he'll lead us through this waterfall in order to fight an alternate boss. I didn't know this until I started making the video, but this boss is actually a direct remake of the very first boss in Starfox on the SNES. Pretty cool that finding a secret in the first level gives you the boss of the original game's first level. I really love that. Anyways, in accomplishing this mission, we can fly over to Sector Y rather than the asteroid belt that would normally be our second mission. The secret to accomplishing the asteroid belt mission is actually sitting in plain sight about halfway through. All we need to do is fly through every one of these blue circles, spinning and boosting more and more with each one we hit until we reach hyperspeed. Upon reaching hyperspeed, we find ourselves in a really trippy looking area with a fun blur effect on our R-wing as we fly around towards our secret exit, which will take us to Katina instead of Fortuna. In Fortuna, we can actually get a mission accomplished by taking out all of Starwolf's team before the bomb detonates in the base that we're defending. It's a pretty easy mark to hit, and if you do, you'll be able to move to Solar instead of Sector X. In Sector X, if we decide to take this split path on the left side, we'll find these gates that we can shoot the hell out of in order to open them up. Falco lets us know that this looks like some kind of warp, and in shooting them all open and flying through them, we once again find ourselves in hyperspace, taking us all the way over to Sector Z. But Sector X actually has a second secret exit in a way that will also take us to Macbeth rather than the Bulls Defense Outpost. If we decide to go through this level as normal and fight the robot at the end of the level, it's possible to destroy the robot in its second phase before Slippy gets absolutely destroyed by it, allowing us to bypass Titania entirely. These are just a few examples of how these secret exits work, and they can be found throughout the entire game in almost every one of its planets. This system of progression leads to pretty much every playthrough you do of Star Fox 64 to be completely different from anything you've ever done before. There are something like 25 different combinations of planets that you can visit in order to reach the final planet and challenge Andross, which I just think is so damn cool. Oh yeah, speaking of Andross, you're probably still wondering about the true ending of this game's story, huh? Well, in taking a different approach to the planets we visit, we can actually find ourselves on the left side of Venom rather than the right. This is where the true ending of the game will actually be taking place. Turns out the right side of this planet held the base of a fake robotic Andross. Hearing that this robot in Sector X was called Andross's secret weapon is starting to make a lot more sense now. Anyways, this left side of the planet actually has no regular flight level before the Andross fight, and instead has a much more difficult Starwolf encounter. This time around, Starwolf has much improved ships with which they'll barrel roll to avoid your lasers, do somersaults to avoid your homing shots, and overall they're just a little more accurate with their own attacks. This fight, even to this day, will sometimes take me a couple of attempts to beat, and as a kid, it was honestly a miracle if I even made it through with all of the lives I had at my disposal. These guys are no pushovers in their new and improved ships. Once you do finally best Starwolf though, you'll dive alone into the real Andross's base just like before, only this time it becomes a bit more of a maze. As far as I'm aware, there are no wrong paths to take in this section, but depending on the paths you choose to take through it, you'll be given different power-ups in preparation for the final fight. Once we reach Andross, it's easy to see that his first form functions exactly the same as the first time we fought him, but upon destroying it, we find his true form, which is just his brain and his eyes? I think Coney probably put it best when he played through this game recently.
So, Andross, you show your true form.
I think all of our true forms are our brain, man.
Regardless of how silly it is, this fight isn't actually that easy. Here, we're in all range mode and we have to fly around to try to shoot the back of the brain in order to deal damage, but with these eyes flying around, it can be quite troublesome. My best working strategy is to somersault over the eyes so that they'll pass you, giving you a free shot at taking them out, making the brain a little easier to manage. From here though, it honestly seems like RNG to whether or not you'll be able to get your hits, or at least I haven't found a good consistent way to beat him here yet. Sometimes Sometimes when I finally have a chance at a few hits, he'll teleport away like he's Bowser in the second fight of Mario 64, and when he's not teleporting behind me, he's chasing me so fast that I can't boost away in time to turn around and chase after him without just getting caught by his tendrils. But he is beatable without too much difficulty if you have enough patience. Once you've taken him down though, he says this:
If I go down, I'm taking you with me.
Fox lets out a scream as the entire screen goes white and it seems like it's over, until one voice pierces through it all.
Don't ever give up, my son.
Father?
Follow me, Fox.
From here, we have a Metroid-like escape sequence where James McCloud leads us out of harm's way through this maze of a base as it continues exploding behind us. Here is where we realize that this line Peppy always says,
Never give up! Trust your instincts!
is in direct reference to something Fox's dad always used to say.
Never give up. Trust your instincts.
When we're finally let out of the demolished hideout, we rejoin the team with our job well done. Fox, having seen the ghost of his father, is looking around trying to find him in order to know whether he was really there or if this was just some crazy premonition of a dream. Upon being asked by Peppy why he's looking around so much, Fox just says it's nothing and we're led into the credit sequence as usual. Looking back at the footage, I noticed that you can actually see James's R-Wing disappear right after leaving Andross's base while Fox flies straight out towards his team, which I think is a really cool detail. This time, in the end of our credit sequence, there's no giant Andross face in the sky, and we can finally rest easy knowing that we did right by the Lylat system. The story of this game goes so hard, especially the first few times you run through it, as you'll likely come across the fake ending before you ever reach the true one. And as clever as it would have been for me to end the video around the time I explained the true ending of the game to you all, I actually still have a few things to talk about, one of which might just be my favorite part of this game. Firstly, I think this is worth noting. Remember how our first fight with Starwolf happens right in Fortuna near the beginning of the game? Well, if we skip over this encounter and still go through to the true ending, we're met with the upgraded version of the Starwolf team all the same. However, if we skip Fortuna and move into the fake ending of the game, we would be skipping all the Starwolf fights, but we're actually forced to fight Starwolf at regular strength in the Bolt's defense outpost right before Venom. This is something I actually had no idea about until I did it myself playing this game for footage for this video, and the funny thing is, I didn't even mean to do it this way, but because the game has so many options for which planet you'd like to visit at any given time, I ended up taking a route I'd never done before that still reached the fake ending of the game, and I found this. I just thought this was so cool because it just guarantees that you'll be facing Starwolf one way or another no matter what you do. Now this next part is the thing I think might just be my favorite piece of the game, and the thing I'm talking about here of course is running into friends of the Starfox team. There aren't many of them in the game, in fact there are only 2, but man, the effects they have on your playthrough are so awesome, and it just makes me want to meet up with them every time I start a new journey. First of all, if we travel to Katina from either Sector Y or the asteroid belt, we can run into Bill Gray.
Hang on, guys. Help is on the way.
In this mission, we'll be helping Bill and his Bulldog and Husky units to take out the enemy ships attacking this base. All of a sudden, a
Enemy mothership approaching.
Yeah, as I was saying, it's an enemy mothership that shows up, and it's up to us and our allied forces to take it down amidst all the chaos. This mission is cool and all, but what matters most to me is what comes afterwards. In either of our 2 travel options coming out of Katina, we can find that Bill actually tracks us down and returns the favor after we helped him out initially. In Sector X, if we take the left lane here, Bill will show up and help us shoot out these gates that lead us to the secret warp drive exit in the level. And if we decide to travel to Solar, a planet whose surface is entirely comprised of lava, he'll drop us healing rings and shoot out some of the enemies for us to keep us alive as long as he can. All my homies love Bill Gray. If we manage to take the hardest route though, things can go a little differently. First, take the secret exit in Corneria, then get 100 or more kills in Sector Y and you'll be taken to Planet Aquas. This is a really sick switch up planet in the way that you're actually deployed in Slippy's favorite vehicle, the Blue Marine, and you're forced into an uncomfortably dark water level. What matters most about Aquas is that playing through this planet is the only way to take a path that leads to Zonus. Zonus is another sea planet, but this time the water's been completely muddied up. In this mission, we'll find these searchlights that will alert extra enemy forces if they spot us, and who better to help us shoot them all out than Cat Monroe. Cat has a pretty unclear history with Starfox, but it's clear by the way that Falco reacts to her appearance that she must know him pretty well.
Cat, what are you doing here?
The Starfox wiki also mentions that when she delivers lines like this,
Beautiful! I could kiss you for that.
She's actually trying to make Falco jealous by sweet-talking his captain. All of this being said, we'll beat this mission and once again have a chance to find Kat again in either of our two choices for our next planet. If we decide to go to Sector Z, a mission where we need to protect the Great Fox from incoming missiles, she'll show up and help us take out a group of them before she leaves again. And in Macbeth, she'll actually help us out in a pretty meaningful way. See, Macbeth is an amazing stage, and it's the last of the Landmaster missions we'll be finding in this game. Basically, we're on the ground chasing after the big bad guy at the front of this long train, and once we find him, it's boss time. Beating him would clear the mission normally and send us to the Bull's Defense outpost, but the secret exit in this stage requires us to switch the way the train tracks will go in order to run his train into some sort of building to destroy him. In order to do this, we'll have to keep a sharp eye on both sides of the train tracks during this boss fight to make sure that we can shoot all 7 levers, which can be pretty tough to do if you don't know exactly where all of them are. But Kat can help us out with this. During this boss fight, Kat will show up again if you helped her before and take care of a decent few of these levers, making our job so much easier. Like I said before, Kat and Bill are likely my favorite part of this entire game. If you didn't get it up to this point of the video, I'm a sucker for how much character progression and world building this game actually gives you through its story and dialogue. There are a million more things I could say about this game, but I'm just gonna give you the coolest one that I haven't mentioned yet because this video is already way longer than probably anything else I've ever done on this channel. Giving the players so many missions to explore and making many of the harder ones reward you with a few different vehicles to drive is awesome and all, but what if we took some of those vehicle ideas and brought them into the multiplayer? Well, it turns out you kind of can. Not with this submarine maybe, but you do at least get the Landmaster. In order to unlock the Landmaster, all you need to do is get an exceptional amount of kills within the missions that you play in the single player. Once you've gotten enough kills and finished the mission, you'll get a medal placed on that planet. All you need to do is get a medal on the planet Venom, and this option will make itself known to you before your multiplayer match begins. There is one more vehicle in multiplayer though, or maybe more accurately one more lack of a vehicle that you can use. Yes, indeed, you can play multiplayer in this game on foot as any of the 4 Starfox characters. In order to do this, you need to master the game and complete the Herculean task of getting every single medal in the game to unlock Expert mode, and then getting a medal on planet Venom in Expert as well. This is no small task, and for as much as we played this game as kids in my home growing up, we never got it done. My cousin and good friend over at Vishera Games always told me this was possible when we were kids, and I really just thought he was telling me Sonic was in Smash Melee all over again, but this is real. When the Switch N64 collection put Starfox 64 in the mix, I immediately played it for so long that I actually did get this unlocked. You should know that it took me a ridiculous amount of time. In the end, I just had to see it for myself, and now I have, with only this one Discord message from years ago as proof that I did it. Starfox 64 is a masterpiece. If you loved this game as a kid, still love it now, or are interested in giving it a shot now that you've reached the end of my video, do consider giving this video a like and maybe subscribe to the channel if you're feeling extra spicy. My next video isn't going to take nearly as long as this one did to make, so you might want to stay tuned to see what I've got cooking up. As for now, that's my time everybody. My name's Myloe, and I'm out.